Hello everyone, John Odom, drum set and percussion teacher here with Groove with Passion drum lessons. And today I'm going to go ahead and film a video on playing with both hands together. Now where this is coming from, I'm a worship drummer, and with modern worship music, and this is not every song, but oftentimes we do need to play with both hands together, playing in unison. And the reason why I bring that up is because for a lot of us right-handed drummers, I'm one of them, left hand oftentimes is the weaker hand. And so sometimes, especially if you're having to play at a faster tempo, it can be difficult for the left hand and right hand to match up the way they should be. And so this is something I'm personally working on, and something I'm sharing with my students. So a really good book, and there's several books you can work on this with, but a book that I use and several of my students are using this book is Breaking It Down. This was written by Kevin White. Okay, excellent drum book, excellent method for learning the drums because it does just that. It breaks down when you're learning grooves, bass drum, snare drum, hi-hat, ride cymbal separately. Helps you learn, work on limb coordination, limb independence, and build that up. So it just so happens, the very first page of exercises, which in this book is page 7, 8th note warm-ups, okay? So, exercise 1 is 8 on a hand, okay? Which is 8th notes for the right hand, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Exercise 2, same thing with the left hand, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So, I've been having my students warm up with exercises like so. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then the third time we play both hands together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So this here, when you play with both hands together, these are known in drumline, snare drum, if you're playing snare drum and drumline, are known as double stops. Okay, now the key to this, these are not standard flams, right? These are not flams where you're going to play with one stick is a grace note and one's a primary note. These are both hitting together. So that's where the challenge comes in, is making sure the weaker hand can keep up with the stronger. Okay, so again, one measure with the right, one measure with the left, one measure together like so. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 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 Okay. Now, when you're playing this, if you're playing this, and I'll give a great example of a song, classic rock song that's one of the most popular songs ever written, ever recorded, is Don't Stop Believing. When you're coming out of the verse, going into the chorus, and it's where the build up after the guitar crescendo, and then Steve Perry, he sings, it goes on and on and on and on. Well, that crescendo is 2 measures, okay? It's really bass drum, snare drum, and low tom, okay? But if you practice this even with just the hands, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and crash. Now I actually lowered my crash so you could see the low tom better, because I'll be using it here in just a moment. So yeah, sometimes you might play on one surface, but oftentimes you're going to play this idea on maybe 2 different surfaces, okay? So different ways to orchestrate this, right? One way that I have my students play this when they're behind the kit is low tom. We play with the left hand. I'm sorry, high tom with the left hand, low tom with the right hand, like so. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and then together. And 2 and 3 and 4. All right, now we can make this a little more interesting. We can add some substance, some low bottom end, right, to this with our bass drum. Okay, and we can start with just playing on 1 and 3. Now this does a couple things for you. Number one, it adds, again, more substance, more presence to this, okay? Also, too, it helps you work on limb independence, coordination, because now when you start adding your bass drum in, that's something else you got to think about, okay? So if I'm going to play the bass drum on 1 and 3, left hand on the high tom, right hand on the low tom, it's going to go like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And we can also play kick on quarter notes, all 4 quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to play left hand on snare. I'm going to play my right hand on my mid tom. I'm going to go like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 2 and 3 4 1 2 3 and 4. Okay, now also when you're building, and one thing about worship drumming, and again, you don't do this in every song, but it is maybe half the songs where you're going to crescendo up, and it's rock, funk, pop rock. A lot of times you do crescendos in other styles of music, and it's not only crescendos. This could very well be part of a groove. Okay. Or you may be playing like 8th notes on your low tom, and maybe with your right hand, and maybe if you're right-handed, and maybe the other hand you're playing on toms, cymbals. Point is, both hands have got to be functioning well. Left hand or weak hand building exercises are something that most drummers need to do. There are a few drummers who are blessed, both hands are equal, but that's the exception. Most of us have a strong hand and a weaker hand. So in order for us to be able to really play some of the grooves and fills, if you want to play a two-handed 16th note groove, and especially if it's a faster song, faster tempo, this hand, the weaker hand, has to be able to keep up with the strong hand. If you're doing a fast build, and if this hand can go at that tempo, but the left hand's struggling, that's something you got to work on. Again, something I'm working on myself, okay? Another idea is we can play it on the ride. Now, and one thing that I've been doing in worship, playing in church, is actually crashing on the ride. Sometimes you can, that's certainly an option. You can get the crash cymbal too. We can use both, okay? But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and play on my ride. Same idea, okay? Like so. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sometimes you're going to play quarter notes on the bass drum. Sometimes it's going to be 8th notes, like so. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You're going to do a crescendo. You start off with a quieter volume and you raise it up, right? Like so. A lot of times you'll crash on the end of that. Sometimes too in worship music, you may do this for 8 or 16 measures. It's not always just a quick, 2 measure or 4 measure phrase. It can be longer than that. So again, it just depends on the song. But again, the whole idea is to work on both hands, okay? So that hopefully this will help you guys. This will, again, trying to get the hands even. If you can practice in front of a mirror, that's very helpful, because if you have a mirror in front of you, you can look at yourself, you can see what your hands are doing. Okay, are they matching up? Are they coming up to are my sticks at the same height? Am I letting rebound? Am I using rebound? Rebound is always huge. You can also use molar technique. There's so many videos on molar technique. Molar technique is huge. It's something that I teach my students. So hopefully this video will help you guys. I am currently enrolling some new students for drum lessons. Currently I do travel to students' homes in Orlando and the surrounding area in Florida. I also offer online lessons. I teach online lessons right here, either with Google Meet. It works great for online lessons. And so I've been background checked, certified safe to work with children. I have students in elementary school, middle school, and high school. I also teach adults. I teach ages 5 to 99. And I make the learning to play your favorite music fun, whether you want to play in a band, whether you want to just play for fun, whatever your musical goals are. Also, if you're playing in band in school, if you're learning snare drum, bass drum, I can certainly help you with your drum parts, help you with rudiments, proper technique. That's all part of the curriculum that I offer. So if you're looking for drum lessons, if you want to try this out, first lesson is free, no charge. Contact information will be on the video. I'll also include the link for the Breaking It Down book, because this is an excellent book that I recommend for drummers. It starts from beginners and it gets pretty advanced towards the end of the book. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. Take care.